Welcome back to our video series on growing microgreens, sponsored by growingmicrogreens.com, where you can go to get a full line of microgreen growing kits, a great selection of microgreen seeds, trays, growing medium, growth lights, pH balancing kits, everything you need to grow microgreens in your own kitchen countertop. Very fun, very easy to grow. Now, in other videos in the series, we talked about how to grow microgreens hydroponically, which is usually our preference. If a seed can and will grow well hydroponically, that's our first choice because it's easy, it's fast, it's not messy, it's fun, and it is difficult to do it wrong if you follow the instructions and use the proper process. One of the cool things about microgreens is you can do a lot of experimentation with different weird kinds of seeds. You can experiment with different techniques to grow and see what works and what doesn't. Really a lot of fun. And because these crops grow so quickly, you can do a lot of experimentation and in a very short period of time, and it's very inexpensive. It's just a fun hobby. And of course, microgreens are delicious. They're beautiful. As you take a look at this tray of beets, which is very colorful. You can see nice, very colorful stems. That is beet seed, which is a crop that really prefers the soil. And what we're going to do in this particular case is we're going to plant a crop of sunflower, our all-time favorite microgreen. It is crunchy, it's nutty, it's very substantial, it's delicious, and it is, I don't know, sunflower microgreens unlike any other microgreen, unlike anything you've ever tasted really. Really, really a cool crop and just delicious. Your friends and family will love it. Your kids will eat the daylights out of sunflower greens. If they won't touch another vegetable, they'll eat raw sunflower greens because they are just phenomenal. Now that being said, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and prepare a soil-based crop, and we're going to kind of preview the process and walk through some of the steps of preparing a soil-based crop. Now here's the interesting thing. With most of the crops that prefer soil, those crops need to be, those seeds need to be pre-soaked. You can't just plant them. Most of the hydroponic seeds, you know what, they don't need to be soaked, and if you do soak them, you're going to end up with a mess. With soil-based seeds, they need to be pre-soaked, so that's going to be an important stage. So let's talk about pre-soaking first before we prepare a tray. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pre-soak our sunflower. Now in our microgreens kits, we have a pre-measured 9-ounce bag of sunflower. Some of our other seeds are also pre-measured, and if they're not pre-measured, we talk about them in our instruction sheet. And it will tell you exactly what types of seeds and how long and how to soak them if they need a soak and how much seed to use in a tray. But this 9-ounce pre-measured bag is exactly the right amount of seed for a 21-inch by 10-inch tray, which is the trays that we have. And of course, you'll notice here, these trays don't have any drain holes, which is perfect, which means you don't get a mess all over your kitchen counter, and we'll show you how to handle that exactly correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just a regular large cup, and I'm going to pour these seeds into that cup, and I'm going to soak these seeds for somewhere between 12 and 24 hours. A little closer to 24 hours is probably the better choice. Now what I want to do is I want to soak these seeds using pH balanced water. In another video in this series, we talked about how to pH balance your water. Make sure that it's got a pH somewhere between about 5.5 and 6.5. It's very easy to do using household ingredients like lemon juice to adjust the pH of your water. And of course, in every kit we provide litmus strips to give you kind of a rough sense of what the pH of your tap water is so it can be adjusted. And we've also got a little more precise pH balancing products. But what we're going to do is we're going to take this pre-measured amount of sunflower seeds, and I'm just going to pour in some pH balanced water, and I'm going to soak these seeds for about, probably again somewhere between 12 to 24 hours. Now a couple of things very important. Make sure that you soak these seeds with cold water. You don't want to use warm water, hot water. You're going to get a low germination rate if you do. So in this particular case, again, I'm going to take some cold pH balanced water, and I'm just going to set these guys aside to soak for, again, 12, 24 hours. There you go. You can even put them in a refrigerator, especially during the summer, because you don't want to get them too hot. So soak those seeds, again, in a refrigerator for 12, 24 hours, somewhere in that neighborhood. Now, once you have your seeds soaked, you can plant them directly into your prepared tray of soil. What our preference is to put these seeds in a colander where they've been soaked for about a day and a half here and transferred to a colander. That was a very Julia Child maneuver, wasn't it? Pretty slicko. Now, what I've done here is I soak the seed in the cup or in a glass or a bowl, whatever it happens to be, for about 24 hours. Then what I did is I transferred them to a colander, and I just gave them a rinse with pH balanced water, typically 2 to 3 times a day. These guys have been soaked for 24 hours, and then they've been growing in this colander with a nice sprinkling or saturation of water in this colander for about a day and a half. And of course, you can see what's happening here. Every one of these little guys is started to have the little root tendrils emerge from the sunflower seed. That is exactly the perfect time to plant them. You could plant them earlier than that, but we find we sometimes get a better crop if we'll let these guys just sprout a little bit longer in a colander, kind of dry. Soak them, and let them drain off immediately, maybe 2 or 3 times a day. Keep them nice and damp. And then, with that seed soaked, we're ready to plant that seed, and that is exactly 1 tray's worth of sunflower seed. So let's go ahead and prepare our tray. Now, if you watch the video on hydroponic growing, we're going to use a very similar technique. We're only going to use a different medium, which is soil, for our sunflower greens. We're going to use 1 tray that's going to hold the soil and the seed, and we're going to use another tray, which is going to be our humidity and our blackout dome. So let's start with preparing a tray for planting. What I'm going to do is we're going to take this tray, and we are going to pour 4 cups of water in the base of this tray. That's step number 1. Okay, so here's our first 2 cups of water in the base of this tray. There's 2 cups. We need 2 more. Okay, and remember, here's our second 2 cups of water. Remember, we're using pH balanced water, right? We want a nice, slightly acidic water, pH around 5.5, maybe 6, 6.5, slightly acidic, okay? Your city tap water is probably a little too high pH. I'm going to pull that down with a little bit of lemon juice, and this has already been balanced. Check out our other videos for how to balance the pH of your water. So in our soil-based microgreens growing kit, we include 2 5-quart bags of organic potting soil. This is a really good growth medium. Now, we provide more seed, a lot more seed, in our soil-based microgrowing kit than we have soil for. The problem with soil is it's really heavy and the soil is a little bit damp, so shipping too much soil is going to cost a fortune. So we want to get you enough soil in the microgreens growing kit to get you started, but you could go down to any garden supply store, any nursery, any hardware store and buy regular plain old potting soil, or I don't know if there's dirt indigenous to, say, your backyard, but regular plain old dirt will typically work pretty well. If you're into composting, you have a compost pile, compost makes a great choice. Just any soil-based medium. But again, we want to provide you enough to get you started in the kit, and there's a lot more seed in the kit. There's enough seed in the kit to grow, maybe a dozen and a half trays. However, in this particular case, this is enough soil to probably grow 4 or 5 trays, enough to get you started, but you're going to have to find, and you should find soil sourced locally because, we sell it on the website, but shipping it is more than the dirt costs, as you might imagine. So let's take a look here. What we're going to do is we've got 4 cups of water in the base of this tray, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut a corner off of this bag, and we're going to pour about 2 inches of soil into and on top of the water in this tray. And that's pretty much what you want, is about 1.5 to 2 inches of soil in the base of this tray. So let's get that kind of piled up in there a little bit. There we go. Let's see what that looks like. So again, we've got our 4 cups of water, and we've got our potting soil, which we've kind of poured in. And what we're really looking for here is we're looking for about 1.5 inches to 2 inches of soil in this tray, and that looks like a little bit shallow to me. I'm going to put a little bit more in, right? So let's put just a little bit more soil in, and you can see based on how much we've done here, this 5-quart bag of soil will probably do about somewhere between 4 and 6 trays, depending on how densely or how thick you go. And I prefer putting it a little thicker, or a little bit more than 1.5 inches, a little closer to 2 inches, which is about what that is. That's probably about 1.5 inches of soil in the base of that tray. Now, once you've got that, and you've got it kind of level, right? And remember, it's picking up all that water from the base of that tray, and so down low, where the roots want to go, is where it's really nice and wet. Now what we're going to do is we're going to tamp it down. A spatula, the back of a spatula is really your best choice, but any flat surface, in this case I'm just going to use a lid to a Tupperware container, and I'm going to gently not hard. I don't want to compact the soil, but I want to tamp it down so it's nice and flat. I don't want to have a whole lot of aeration or anything. I want a nice kind of flat surface, no problem at all. That is about perfect. Again, you're not looking to compact it. You're just looking to get a nice, flat, even surface. And anything flat, like the lid to that Tupperware container will do as spatulas, also a really good choice. So there we go. Now we've got a bed of soil that's kind of prepared. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take our spray mist bottle and I'm just going to mist the surface of that a little bit, get it nice and damp, and of course I'm using pH balanced water in the spray bottle. Okay, so we're just going to mist that soil, dampen it. Again, you're not looking to saturate it here, you're just looking to get it a little bit wet. It's not going to get soggy. Again, most of that water is in the base of this tray, but a nice thorough misting to just get that ready is going to be perfect. Okay, so there we go. We now have a tray, a soil-based tray that's basically ready to go, and now we're ready to take our soaked and sprouted, and our preference is to sprout them just a little bit in a colander, which will work just fine. And remember, that was from a pre-measured bag, so we know that's exactly the right amount of sunflower seeds to plant in this tray. Okay, so we're going to kind of spread those around a little bit, and then we're just going to gently spread these guys as evenly as you can and into the corners and edges of the tray. And you're going to notice that compared to hydroponic microgreens, these are really planted thickly. The larger the seed, the less dirt you should see between them. Right? So we got a nice even spread of those sunflower seeds, and be nice and gentle with them. Got a little bit more over here we need to move around. Nice even soaking of the seed, or spreading of that seed over the soil. Okay? That's all you need to do. Now, a couple of techniques you can do here. Okay? Not a bad idea to make sure that these seeds have nice firm contact with the soil. You don't want to press down hard. You just want to use, again, the back of a spatula works really well, but any flat surface, you just want to press down gently and make sure that those seeds have a firm contact with the soil. Okay? You're not, again, looking to crush them into the soil, just a little bit, light pressure. Make sure they're nice and in good solid contact with the soil is all you need to do. Now, there's a couple of techniques that you could use here. Okay? You certainly could just grow them like this, and that will work fine, and that's typically my preference on sunflower, is just leave them like that, give them another nice, real thorough saturation. Here you want to be really thorough with the spray mist bottle. Get these guys really nice and glistening wet with that spray bottle. And what we're going to do, get them nice and saturated, nice and wet. And then we're going to put the blackout dome on, right? If you watch the video on hydroponic gardening or hydroponic microgreens, very similar process here. What we're going to do is we're going to mist the inside or the underside of that lid, and we're going to flip it, and we're going to keep these sunflower greens in the dark for about 4 or 5 days. Now, unlike the hydroponic instructions, in some of the hydroponic crops, what we did is we flipped the lid after about 3 or 4 days on some crops. The more delicate crops, the arugulas, the amaranths, you probably wouldn't do that, but the more substantial crops like the cabbages and the broccolis and cauliflowers, you probably would flip the lid if they're a little sturdier, really put some stress on them. In the case of our soil-based crops, you really don't need to flip the lid on most of them, although it wouldn't hurt them to do it. After about the 3rd or 4th day, you can flip the lid, put a little pressure on these guys, stress the crop just a little bit. Helps make them nice and strong. Now, one technique that I do like to use on crops like beet is take a little bit more soil, and we can go ahead and do it with sunflower. It certainly wouldn't hurt them. I typically don't do this with sunflower. I typically do it with beet. I do it with cilantro, is take a little bit of the soil and sprinkle it over the top. You're not looking for a deep, a deep layer. You're looking for like 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch of soil on the top of this crop. And again, I especially do this with beet and cilantro. and make sure, and this helps them kind of stay in the dark. I still use the blackout dome, the humidity dome, but I want a nice little spread of soil over the top of these guys. And again, especially with beet and cilantro, this works really well. Buckwheat and sunflower and dun pea, you don't need to do this. But you could. It wouldn't hurt it to do it, but you don't need to. So with a little bit of soil spread over the top, and let's just kind of spread that around a little bit. And again, it's not a whole lot. It's just enough to get these guys feeling nice and comfortable inside of a soil-based crib, as it were. Okay? And we're just going to, again, very gently flatten that guy out. Just a nice layer of soil on top of the sunflower. Again, normally for sunflower, you don't need to do it. Beet, you'll find, will perform a lot better, your beet seeds will, if you put a nice little layer of soil over the top of them. They'll perform quite a bit better. And again, if you do put a layer of soil on, same kind of basic idea. Give it another quick spray. Get it nice and damp, well saturated. And you're going to be in real good shape there. And that is how you plant a sunflower crop, or pretty much that technique can be followed for just virtually any crop of soil-based microgreens. And the micros that really prefer soil are buckwheat, the pea seeds, sunflower, of course, really prefer soil. Beet and chard really prefer soil. And I'm missing one, beet and chard, and oh yeah, one of our all-time favorites, cilantro. Really prefers soil. It's possible to grow them hydroponically. They just tend to not grow well. You'll get a lot sturdier, better looking crop if you'll grow those types of seeds in soil. So again, for ongoing care of our crop here, we're going to use a humidity and a blackout dome about 4 or 5 days. We're going to keep these crops in the dark, misting typically every 12 hours, nice and thoroughly. Make sure they get a nice saturation after 12 hours, every 12 hours, right? Keep them nice and wet, then expose them to light, and you're going to use regular sunlight. You can use fluorescent, you can use incandescent bulbs, you can certainly use the LED grow lights that we have available at growingmicrogreens.com. Expose these guys to light, and a good crop of sunflower is going to be ready to harvest. You could harvest it as early as 7 or 8 days. You could let it grow 10 days, which is typically our preferred harvest time, is about 10 days from the day that you plant the seeds. You could let it go a little bit longer, 11, 12, 13 days. If it goes too long, the crop gets a little bit woody, starts getting really, really stiff and kind of a wood-like texture. When they're young, sunflowers absolutely our all-time favorite microgreen crop. So again, come visit us at growingmicrogreens.com. You'll find a full line of kits, seeds, growing supplies, everything you need to grow microgreens.